concurrently at 6:08 p.m. Pursuant to Executive Order N-25-20 and N-29-20, members of the Planning Commission and staff are participating in this meeting via video link, Zoom, and/or teleconference. This is not an in-person meeting. Members of the public may observe this meeting on the City of Hawthorne website or on YouTube. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Ortiz, could I ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, no problem. Be my pleasure.
Thank you.
Everyone, hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Al-Shanable, I believe called in and won't be able to make it tonight.
Okay.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Present.
Commissioner Caraveo,
Present.
and Commissioner Richards.
Present.
Oral communications. This is the time for oral communications. Because this meeting is not an in-person meeting, members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting were asked to participate by calling or emailing the Planning Department no later than 5:30 p.m. today, noting the item on which the member wants to speak. This information was provided on the agenda posted in compliance with the Brown Act on Friday, November 13th, 2020. At this time, if there were any messages left for oral communication, staff will either read messages on behalf of those individuals who wish to provide written comments for oral communication, or invite members of the public who wish to provide oral comments to speak through the Zoom application. Remarks, whether written or oral, are still limited to 3 minutes in duration. Staff, is there any participation from the public for oral communications? This is time for the public to address the Planning Commission and the Airport Zoning Commission. Are there any participation?
Just for the public hearing, Chair.
Okay. Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar. There are no items. Recess Airport Zoning Commission. Planning Commission consent calendar. There are no items. Continued public hearings. No items. New public hearing. Vesting tentative parcel map number 2020 PM01. 5 lots into 2 lots. Now is the time and place to open the public hearing to consider vesting tentative parcel map number 2020 PM01. Interim Assistant Director Art Bashmakian will present a staff report.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair and Planning Commission. This item was considered by the Planning Commission on October 21st. At that time, the Planning Commission raised some concerns and they directed staff to prepare a resolution of denial based on inconsistency with zoning, and specifically the parcels have multiple zones, 2 zones on the property. And staff was directed to do the research. Staff did do the research. Originally, we were recommending that the Planning Commission continue this item to the December 16th meeting, but staff is ready to be able to present. And we sent the Planning Commission an updated staff report and a resolution for denial. Staff did research the matter, and in order to approve the parcel map, or lot split as it's called in our code, there are findings that need to be made. All 6 findings or 7 findings need to be made in the affirmative. One of the findings is that the lot split is in accordance with the provisions, intent, and purposes of the zoning ordinance. staff has learned that this project is not consistent with the zoning in two particular areas. In one, the parcel has two zones, R4 zone and C3 MU. The proposed building, the 100-unit residential building, straddles the two zones. Section 3.3 of the development standards says that in no case shall a single building occur in more than one zone simultaneously by being located across a zone boundary line. That's pretty clear. The other inconsistency with zoning is the setbacks. The required setbacks for the R4 zone is 5 feet for every story. This is a 4-story building. Required setback will be 20 feet. The portion of the building within the R4 zone is about 9.5 feet setback. Within the C3 MU zone, the required setback is 15 feet, and in that portion of the building is approximately anywhere between 6 and 7 feet. So the setbacks are not consistent with the zoning standards. So based on these two factors, staff has prepared a resolution of denial since all findings need to be made in the affirmative. If you make one of the findings, then the project cannot be approved. With that, I conclude my presentation. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Does the Planning Commission have any questions for staff? This is the time for questions of staff only. Gentlemen, I can't see if you raise your hand or if you have to tell me you're ready to speak. Thanks.
This is Jason. I had a few questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And so I was trying to see what would they have needed to do to make this project in conformance. Would they need to do like a planned unit development or a zone change? Is that something that's too late for them to do, or can they, if we're recommending denial, could they withdraw it and come back with those proposed, planned unit development or a zone change?
Yes, Commissioner Caravello, it's a question that you could ask the applicant, but to answer your question, yes, the applicant could withdraw and submit application to modify the zoning. There could be a zone map amendment, zone text amendment also. The other item that needs to be done, since this is an affordable density bonus project, they could seek for a concession from setbacks. So there are provisions in the code in our process to allow for changes, combination of, again, zoning and also the density bonus waiver. However, as we all understand, the process involves public hearings before the Planning Commission and ultimately before the City Council to amend the zoning map or the zoning text or a combination. But there's no guarantee in these procedures, as we all know. When it goes through the process, it's discretionary and it's up to the Commission, ultimately City Council.
Okay, and then for this project, they didn't have any concessions that they asked for?
Based on the record, no, there was no concessions that had been requested specifically for the front setbacks.
Okay. Now that's all my questions.
Okay, thank you. Does any of the other commissioners have any questions for staff?
Yes, through the chair, this is Commissioner Ortiz. Just one question. I'm wondering if staff has a map that they can show showing the zones overlaid over their I guess the site plan, to see how or where the lot line falls. I guess I'm referring to item number 1, where it identifies that In no case shall a single building occur in more than one zone simultaneously by being located across a zone boundary line. So do you have a diagram that indicates where that boundary lies relative to the plan?
I don't have the diagram readily handy unless if we're able to log into the city's website and obtain the zoning map and then share that screen. I don't know if I might have to play around with that unless if somebody else, like Melissa, if you are able to do that quickly.
Well, I'm just curious do you have an idea by how much does that straddle that boundary line? I mean, is it, does the building fall 1/3 on one side and 2/3 on the other side? Do you have an idea of that?
Yeah, I could give you a rough estimate. It's not half and half, but it's maybe 2/3, maybe a little less than 2/3 and 1/3.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
not a little sliver of an area. It's a substantial overlap.
Okay, that's sufficient for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other commissioner that has any other questions? None? Okay.
You know, I had one more question.
All right.
So if they were able to apply for one of the concessions, it still wouldn't be acceptable because of the two different zoning designations.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, that's all of my questions.
Okay. No more questions from the staff or from the commissioners for the staff. Then I'd like to ask, is the applicant present and do they wish to speak?
Howard
Chair, yes,
Hoffenberg is
the-
president. Excuse me, Howard Hoffenberg is present as counsel for the applicant, and I believe a principal of the applicant is also present.
Okay, who would like to speak?
Allow me to begin, and then we'll let the principal follow. First of all, as indicated, I am an attorney, and I'm here on behalf of New Era LLC, and my remarks here are to help to guide you to make a decision tonight. New Era LLC wants a decision, preferably favorable, that the parcel map will be approved, but if it be denied, it be denied. But New Era is committed that there be a decision made here tonight. And commensurate with those remarks, as Mr. Bashmakian and as the question by the commissioners, the reasons for not wanting to look at doing concessions and alternatives is it's not a doable proposition for New Era for the reasons that have already come out in this meeting. Now, I have prepared a slide deck which I was told would be printed and distributed to each of the commissioners, and I do hope that you did get that slide deck and that you will be kind enough to follow along with me on my slide deck. Turning to the first page of that slide deck entitled Not Writing on, or the first slide on that slide deck entitled Not Writing on a Clean Slate. This project dates itself back to 2016. And since 2016 until 2020, we've had two planning commission resolutions. And in 2016, and indeed, this very, very panel of the Planning Commission also passed resolutions in August and September of this year. And in all four of those resolutions, it was resolved that this project met building standards, including set-offs, and that this project was in compliance with zoning. So we don't come here today on a clean slate. We come here on today with a slate that's been written on for the past 4 years. If you go to the next slide entitled Recent Discovery Excuse Does Not Hold Water, what we're doing here today, what's being proposed is to erase everything that's been done for the last 4 years, to eradicate 4 resolutions by 2 panels of this planning commission involving over 10 planning commissioners. And the reason being, we finally discovered what our ordinances say. Like, we didn't know what our own ordinances say, and we finally discovered what our own zoning says. That's just not going to hold, that just does not hold water. It's not rational, it's not reasonable. So let's move on. If you go to my next slide, it's entitled A Stop to Assert Setback Non-Compliance. So the word estoppel is a legal term, but we can hear the word stop in it. And the estoppel is a legal doctrine that says, and in particular for this matter here, that a government entity can't do what it wants to do because of what happened in the past. And the California Supreme Court, way back in 1970, said this trumps the ordinances. And in the last 50 years, the California Supreme Court has not wavered from its decision in City of Long Beach versus Mansell, and the appellate courts have faithfully followed it. So if estoppel sets in, it doesn't matter what's written in the ordinances, estoppel trumps what's written in the ordinances. And bringing this home to the setbacks, we have here estoppel. And I'm going to go into each of the elements, but there are 3 elements for estoppel to apply. The city need make a representation, there need to have been reliance by the developer, and the public interest must strongly favor the project. If you flip to my next slide entitled Representation, we have the representation. On 11/21/2016, a then planning director by the last name of James sent a letter to the developer that we were all good with regarding setbacks. In the larger context, a new ordinance changing setbacks would not be applied to the project, and that there was compliance in terms of a older version of the ordinance. And then that was just followed a month later by a resolution of a then panel of this planning commission, resolution 2016-40, finding that the project was in compliance with all building standards, which encompasses setbacks, and that the project was zoned. So we have the element of reliance for there to be, element of representation for there to be estoppel. If you flip to the next slide of my slide deck, and that is entitled Reliance, and in that, there we have reliance twofold. The developer, first of all, expended $1.6 million in pre-development costs and amongst documents. Documents have been submitted, added to the administrative record. Hopefully you've seen that. We have summary tables and detailed itemizations to substantiate the $1.6 million that was expended by the developer. It's a local developer. This is not Trammell Crow. This is a small-time outfit, a huge amount of money as pre-development costs. And then the developer also paid this good city about $276,000 in fees for plan check review, which potentially go out the window. I mean, the project has to be revamped completely. So we have the second element of reliance. If you'd be kind enough, you're asked to flip to the next page of my slide deck, and that's entitled Public Interest. And this goes back and for this, I ask you to bring your attentions to the development standards in Appendix B, Section 2.4, and you'll see there that the property that's a subject of this resolution is pointed out, and the Hawthorne's own municipal code describes this as an opportunity for redevelopment of blighted. That's not my word. That's the city of Hawthorne's word. Blighted residential and commercial properties, and that a mixed-use development that, as we have here, will put on the best face forward. Again, that's not my rhetoric as an attorney. That's the city of Hawthorne saying best face forward. So it is manifestly clear that this project is strongly favored by the public interest. Hence, all the elements of estoppel are present. This planning commission, this city, are estopped. Again, focusing on the word stop in estoppel from asserting the zoning setback ordinance, all according to the California Supreme Court. And we truly hope that the city of Hawthorne will obey the Supreme Court of Appeals of the state of California. Okay, so now let's get to the next point, and that's this crossing of zoning boundaries, and we see this as nothing less than spot zoning and irrational discrimination. For the last 4 years, as mentioned at the outset of my remarks, this project has been deemed and resolved to be in compliance, and now the city is flipping because some sort of planner all of a sudden discovered it's not, and this is nothing less than irrational discrimination. So let's, if you go to the next page of my slide deck, it's called entitled Irrational Discrimination Not to Apply the second half of the sentence. What you are doing in effect, let me read the sentence in question. In no case shall a single building occur in more than one zone simultaneously by being located across a zoning boundary line. So the sentence doesn't end. It's not in no case shall a single building occur in more than one zone simultaneously, period. The sentence reads, in no case shall a single building occur in more than one zone simultaneously by being located across a zone boundary line. So the question is not that 2/3 of the building is in in C3 and 1/3 of the building, 2/3 of the building is in R4 and 1/3 is in C3. It's not just that it's in two different zones, but the question, in order to be in non-compliance, there has to be a crossing of a zone boundary line. So what is a zone boundary line? It's not the same as going from one zone to another, because then the sentence would end, it can't be in more than one zone simultaneously. Crossing a zone boundary line means something more. Now, if you'd be kind enough, let's flip to my next slide, and that's one entitled Meaning of by being located across a zone boundary line. So for that, we just have to drop down a little bit. If you look at Part B, Section 3.3, right below the sentence in question, it says intent. Now, that's what we do all the time. Or I shouldn't say that's what we do all the time. That's what courts do all the time. They look to see what is the intent behind legislation to interpret it. And in this case here, the city of Hawthorne has provided an express statement of intent way back in 2012. It can't be changed by political whim at this time here. And in that statement, I will read, ensure that the consolidation of parcels having differing zoning designations results in the development of land uses consistent with the goals of the respective zones. So this informs us, this tells us what it means by crossing a zoning boundary line. It means that we have an inconsistency with the goals of the respective zones. So what do we, now let's take this home to the case we have right in front of us. C3 accommodates density residential. R4 accommodates density residential. There is no inconsistency, hence there is no crossing of a zone boundary line, and being in different zones is not enough to offend the statute. Okay, let's flip the page to my last slide that says demand. This project has been delayed enough, and the position of developer is that parcel map be approved now, this evening, and thereafter, the city will issue the building permit without further delay. And with dispatch, we hope this doesn't occur. We're confident that the parcel map is going to be approved, but otherwise, the developer has to pursue other avenues to take us, because you're going to end this project by not approving the parcel map. So with that having been said, I'll turn things over to the developer. I believe the developer is, a principal of the developer is present. Bill, are you present?
Yes. Hey, everybody. Yeah, you well done, Howard. Thank you very much. I don't think I can add anything else. I don't think I can add anything else. This project was pretty much exempt from that ordinance, and based on that, we pursued, and we spent $1.6 million in pre-development fees, and none of these issues came up in the 4 years. The city has checked the plan already, the building plans, and collected almost $250,000. And the building department was about to stamp and give us our building permit until someone had stopped them because of unsigned documents, such as the developer agreement or the density bonus agreement, and and here we are now. So that's all I have to say. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the commission on this issue? Seeing no one, okay, Mr. Sujushi. Are there any documents to place into the administrative record, such as late communications?
Yes, Chair. There were several documents that were received by the applicant's legal team, Howard Hoffenberg. Those items were all provided to each of the commissioners, and it was also posted on the website.
Okay, thank you. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any final comments on this item or questions for staff?
This is Jason.
Okay.
I do respect Howard and Williams' comments regarding the project, and giving us their viewpoints and providing us with this information. And I do know that we kind of just got this information today. And I have been going through it, and I know that people that have been following this project and looked at the agenda prior to this meeting probably seen that this project was going to be continued to the next meeting. So they probably decided that they weren't going to either attend this meeting or make any comments for this meeting, and I'm sure they weren't aware or probably seen any of your documents that you guys provided. So I would like to give the community the opportunity to, review your documents and, view this meeting and the public comments that were made. Um, and I would probably, just recommend like how the agenda originally said to continue the meeting. And that way, we have all the information that we need, and we've already started the conversation to make a decision for our next meeting, in case somebody that was, following this item and saw that it's being continued, and they decided not to attend this meeting, that they could, come back to that meeting and express their concerns or support for the project based on the new documents that have been presented. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any of the other commissioners have any comments?
Yes, through the chair, this is Commissioner Ortiz. I understand Commissioner Carvello's point, but for me, the staff report is pretty clear in identifying why the project does not meet the two requirements. And I did have opportunity to review the applicant's documents that they sent to us. It does not change or negate those 2 points that staff has based their denial recommendation on. So I'm ready to make a motion to deny the applicant.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, this is Ryan Richard. Yeah, I also wanted to say, just right off, thank you to the applicants for coming in to explain their position of where they are. And I do echo the sentiment that I did take a look. My first look through the slide deck was actually as we were going through the presentation to understand exactly where the applicant's position was and how they were coming to their justification. And I do think, given the position of staff, that with this, seeing this new information, that they can go back and look to understand exactly where they stand in light of the applicant's new finding. This is to me kind of a new discovery. We got their information to see what we do with that. How does that work with the recommendation of staff? I know the agenda did say that it was to be continued. I think it would be prudent for us to take the time to continue to look through this and see exactly where, with given the information the applicant has provided, if that does overturn or overstand where we are with everything. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, any of the other commissioners have anything else to say? There being nothing, then.
Actually, through the chair, one question. I'm not sure if I can pose a question to staff, but the two items that staff is basing their recommendation of denial on, are those discretionary items that we as the Planning Commission can put aside and still approve the project based on testimony from the community, or is, regardless of what further testimony we hear from the community, are those just facts that we can't put aside?
So, Commissioner Ortiz, with regards to the setbacks, one of the mechanisms would be the variance procedure. Again, it's discretionary, but there's an application process, due process, there's findings. As the commission has granted variances probably in the past on certain things. So that's a mechanism. One other thing I did not mention earlier with regards to the zoning matter, if the building could be redesigned and could be divide into two buildings, if you will, with a courtyard in a different configuration where the building does not straddle the line. So that's an option, and that way you're not subject to that zoning criteria. Just a reminder, because I failed to mention that earlier.
Okay, now, so, but I understand the setback requirement, that can be a concession that can be granted, possibly. But what about the zoning straddling? Can that be a concession that can be granted also, or is that not a possibility?
That is not a development standards use, so that cannot be granted in the same fashion as the other development standards.
Okay, so it would either be a redesign or consolidation of all zones into one, or all parcels into one zone.
That's correct. Or eliminating that provision in the code that dictates the prohibition of a building straddling the line. But it's always better. It's good planning if it's one zone. That's the reason why probably we have that provision. One thing I wanted to mention, because I heard when the commissioners were talking about continuing this to the next meeting, in response to the original recommendation. The original recommendation was to continue to the December 16th meeting, which is not the next meeting, it's the meeting after, just for the record. Just wanted to make sure the commissioner was aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time? I didn't get, I missed it. Could you repeat that? Oh, what did you say, Greg? About the last meeting, or the next meeting?
I'm sorry?
He said that the originally discussed continued meeting would not be the next one. It would be the one after that.
Yeah, the previous staff report had recommended that the item be continued to the December 16th Planning Commission meeting. And if there was the desire of the Planning Commission to abide by that recommendation, and perhaps thinking that people may have been interested in this matter and they may not be showing up till the 16th, I just want to bring that to your attention if that was the concern, because it did say the 16th.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'm sorry to interrupt. Chairman Smith, there is a request by Mr. Hoffenberg to speak again. So if you'd like to allow him to do that, could you please let the moderator know so that they can unmute Mr. Hoffenberg so he can speak?
Sure, let him speak.
I just had one more question before. And then so it sounded like they had a question about kind of like a determination on how the language is for that section for the zoning. Would that be an interpretation that would need to be made by the director, or would the Planning Commission make that determination for the language? Because I guess the way he's making it sound is that it could be allowed over the two zones. It just has to meet those zoning standards. It sounds like a stretch, but I just wanted to see, would that be a determination or made by the director, or would the Planning Commission make that?
Not related to this project, but I did recall that looking at the zoning code with a similar question about interpretations, and there is a provision in the code that requires it to go to the Planning Commission and ultimately to City Council when there is a interpretation of a zoning matter. Unless if I'm missing something, Melissa or Greg.
Well, I was just gonna point out there is a provision in the code that talks about that, and the interpretations are made by the planning director. There's mechanisms for appealing it to the Planning Commission and the City Council, but the interpretations are made by the planning director. I can find that section for you, but it's in the code. So
okay, yeah. So that's all my questions for now.
Okay, any other final comments from staff?
Just a couple wrap-up points. With regard to the admin record, I thought I heard say that documents were sent in by me via email. There was one document that was sent directly by Mr. Hassan, and that was the itemization of the costs incurred, and I want to make sure that that got put into the admin record. That's one short point. Another short point is basketball games are won by stretches. Look at James. I won't even say that. But basketball games are won by stretches, and you may characterize it as a stretch, but that could be enough to bring the title. And then lastly, I would hope that there would not be knee-jerk decisions made. Staff, in response to questions, responded to the comments that were made here, and there was only microseconds to contemplate that, and I would certainly hope that there would be a more in-depth thought given. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Chair, I do stand corrected. That is correct. There was an additional document that was sent by the applicant, I believe, Mr. Hassan.
Okay.
Is that correct, Melissa?
That's right. It was included in the documents that were provided to the Planning Commission and also placed on the website. And just to clarify, that section, just so we have it, is 17.06.020A. That's the one that provides the authority to make interpretations with the planning director.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's no more final comments from commissioners, then I'll now formally close the public hearing on this item and call on my fellow commissioners for a vote on this. Now, before we close the public hearing, is there a motion to continue? Commissioner,
I would motion to continue.
okay,
This is Jason.
Jason?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second that. This is Ryan.
Okay. All right. Will the secretary please call for the vote on the motion?
Can I just clarify the motion? Commissioner Caraveo, are you moving to continue to
The
December
16th?
16th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. If the motion is to the December 16th meeting, I'd like to just ask a clarifying question, or just, a question of staff in general. Is there any reason why we couldn't have this item reviewed on the next meeting rather than the 16th meeting, or do we have to keep it on the 16th meeting?
You can move to continue this to the next meeting. Yes, as long as the public hearing stays open and we're continuing the public hearing, we can schedule it for the next meeting. I don't have the date in front of me, but we'd have to have the date and the time set in the motion.
Okay. Then while you're looking that up, I also ask, I know that would truncate the time that staff has to actually look into the matter and understand what it was that the applicant was putting forward. Would that be an unreasonable amount of time to have staff to not only prepare a report, but get something to the commission to look over before that?
That would be a question for either of staff, if that's sufficient amount of time.
Oh, fair.
Either Art or Greg.
I think if the question is related to the matter about the zoning line and boundary line that was raised, that there was some other provisions in the code, and if there is a room for interpretation, I think we could review that and be able to have it ready to be distributed for the next planning commission meeting by in the next week, if that's the only question we have to deal with.
And the date is December 2nd.
Yes.
I think we should also maybe ask, the applicant if they would need the more time, maybe the December 16th meeting, in case they decide they want to change their plan or design to abide by that setback. for the zoning, the two different zones.
You can go ahead and ask that.
Is the
Wou-
applicant
wouldn't-
still available?
I
Wouldn't
think
that
the
be
applicants are still there.
wouldn't that be a completely different application then, or?
Well,
Could
the
it-
application is for the zoning, not the zoning, but for the subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah. Is the applicant still available?
I think they are.
Either William or Howard. I was trying to see if you'd be okay with extending the public hearing to December 16th to allow you guys more time to deliberate on, what options you guys would like to go by, or if the next meeting, which is December 2nd, that would be enough time for you guys.
Mr. Hassan, are you present? If you are, please respond. If not, I'll answer. Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, I don't hear anything from
Question is if
Mr.
there's a preference of December 2nd or December 16th. That's basically the question. I do see that Mr. Hassan is on, but he's muted.
Mr. Hassan, will you please push *6 and respond to the pending question?
Yes, December 2nd will work.
Okay.
Okay, so one just additional comment from me, Mr. Commissioner Caravelle. The main reason why you wanted to continue the hearing was because of the stated date in the original commission meeting for the 16th. So do we just to be safe, do you want to be consistent with that, or are you comfortable that other interested parties, community, will find their way to the December 2nd meeting?
I mean, personally, I would be more comfortable with the December 16th, but if the Plan Commission and staff and the applicant are okay with the December 2nd, then that's fine.
Well, I would suggest we go to December 16th.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd make the motion for December 16th to extend the Plan Commission hearing to continue.
Okay.
Is there a second to that?
Would you please,
And let me rephrase the motion. So the motion is to continue the public hearing to December 16th, the regular scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission, December 16th at 6 p.m. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
would the secretary please call for the vote?
I didn't hear a second, actually. Did
I'm
I?
sorry.
I'm actually having trouble hearing some of the commissioners. Having trouble hearing Commissioner Richard a little.
Yeah.
Right. Is there a second?
Commissioner Richards is muted right now.
Oh, I couldn't hear him before though.
Sorry about that.
Are you seconding that motion, Commissioner Richard? Caravello's motion to continue the public hearing to December 16th at 6 p.m.? You're still muted.
I'm muted. Not that. Yeah.
That's a yes?
Oh, yes. Yes. Sorry about yes.
Sorry,
yes.
I couldn't hear.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Chair.
Okay. Will the second secretary please vote?
Yes. Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Al-Shanable is absent. Commissioner Ortiz,
No?
Commissioner Caravello,
Yes.
and Commissioner Richards.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 to 1 with Vice Chair Al-Shanable absent.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll recess the Planning Commission, call back to order the Airport Zoning Commission. Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar, there are no items. Airport Zoning Commission new or continued public hearings, there are no items. So we'll call back to order the Planning Commission concurrently with the Airport Zoning Commission. There are non-public hearing items at all. In administrative items, there are none. Do we have commissioner reports, please? Who would like to be first?
I'll go first by saying I have nothing to report. Everything is great, and I'm glad we got the election behind us. We're almost there.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll go next. This is Jason. I was trying to just make sure that if we can get the public notices to the commission when they go out, so that we can get kind of a heads up on the next meetings. There's one more I forgot. Oh, and then for Commissioner Ortiz's tiny lots, I was trying to see if you could probably also look into maybe if we were to allow for condos, maybe in single family residential, and maybe how that would affect, the neighborhoods and the economy, because that could also be, provide for some type of home ownership for those lots. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
No, in case Commissioners or Chairperson Smith has something, but I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. I'm sure you guys can hear me. Appreciate you guys being here and going through this meeting and being thoughtful about what we had to say. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Short one.
Okay. Yeah, there isn't anything further from the commissioners, then these meetings are adjourned at 7:01. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Happy
Yep.
Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank
Thank you. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.